Hey, I want to make a quick video today before I head off to SHOT Show. As most people know, they had the rally in Virginia yesterday. Now, I didn't get to see much about it yesterday because I was really busy all day, but didn't get to see the coverage, but I got filled in on it later, and it looks like it was a resounding success. So, thrilled about that. Now, a lot of people were like, but weren't you upset because people didn't rally like this for Washington? I'm like, well, yeah, I was a little butthurt because people didn't do this for Washington when I was telling them, hey, if this gets passed in Washington, it's coming to your state next. People didn't believe me, so they just kind of turned a blind eye to Washington. Although I'm talking about like the big organizations and the big names. The ordinary, everyday people like myself and my viewers, we did step up because they donated like $100,000 to the GOA to help fight the laws here in Washington. So I can't say nobody did anything because the people actually did a lot. It's just, the bigger channels, etc., didn't do much. But, that's normal. Hell, I can't even get the bigger channels to mention the TYM Triple P or the Handguns for Heroes project. They won't even come out of their mouths because it doesn't serve their interests. But I wanted to talk about the rally yesterday. A lot of people are saying, do you think it will, like I was saying, just because I'm a little butthurt about something, don't mean I'm going to get in the way of something I think is good for the Second Amendment. Like I've said, I'm all for anything that does positive for the Second Amendment. I would do a video with Demolition Ranch or Keltec or whoever if I thought it was going to be beneficial for the Second Amendment. But getting back to the rally, do I think it's going to make a difference? The rally itself, no. Rallies very seldomly make differences. Rallies are more about, unity and getting everybody into the right spirit for the fight to come. They don't really affect policy all that much because, believe it or not, the politicians don't really have that hard of a time ignoring the people, no matter how many of them there are speaking. They do pretty much what their interests tell them to do. So I don't believe it'll have any effect. And the local politicians there in Virginia have already came out and said, no, not going to have any effect on us. And I'm like, surprise, surprise, that you don't listen to the people. But there are some things that will have an effect, and I want to talk about those. And like I say, still glad the rally happened. I think the rally was a huge success. I think it brings a sense of unity to the community. It brings a sense of where we stand. It lets people know what's coming. So it's totally positive and had an amazing turnout. So totally positive. But like I said, I don't think the politicians will pay much attention to it, but one thing I do think might sway them from not doing too much in Virginia right now, and that is that there are some Second Amendment related cases in front of the Supreme Court right now. And if the Supreme Court comes down pro-gun in those decisions, I think you're going to see the Virginia people back off a little bit. Because they know, because of the sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties, etc., in their state, they're going to set up a legal battle if they pass these laws. Because there's going to be a lot of people that have standing to file cases if they're harmed when their county law and their state law contradict one another. Especially if there's precedent that the state law may be unconstitutional. So I think they're going to wait and see what these laws do, what these cases do at the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court comes down pro-Second Amendment, I think they may back off because they'd be like, we don't want this going to the Supreme Court right now, or we're going to suffer major, long-lasting defeats. If the Supreme Court rules against these Second Amendment cases and rules against the Constitution, then I think they'll be emboldened and they'll do everything they want to do. But right now, I think they're paying attention to those cases that are regarding the Second Amendment that are in front of the Supreme Court right now, not the state Supreme Court, the federal SCOTUS. So I think that may have an effect. Now, I personally hope they don't wait. Now, I hope the Supreme Court weighs pro-Second Amendment, and I hope the people in Virginia don't wait. Now, that might sound like a horrible thing, like, oh, you're wishing the same kind of laws you're facing in Washington to the people in Virginia. Not really, because we're fighting lawsuits here, and I think we're going to have some victories. And if these laws do go through in Virginia while the Supreme Court is ruling pro-Second Amendment, I think there's going to be some cases that very quickly go to the Supreme Court from Virginia because their county laws and their state laws are conflicting, and someone's going to have to weigh in on those. So if they do press these Second Amendment issues, I hope the sanctuary counties stay strong. They file suit and they sue because if the Supreme Court weighs positively on these Second Amendment cases that are there now, I think this will be the time for us to win some major court victories. Things that settle some issues for decades to come. Like you may see things like magazine limits struck down as unconstitutional for decades to come. You might see assault weapon bans struck down as unconstitutional for decades to come if these things in Virginia get passed and they get taken to the Supreme Court. Because I think right now is the biggest chance we're going to have of the Supreme Court being on our side or being constitutionalists. I worry about Kavanaugh a little bit. I'm hoping Gorsuch will stick to his libertarian leanings. And I'm hoping Roberts won't feel like he has to go the other way just to keep guns out of the hands of people. Because here's the thing. No one on the Supreme Court wants us to have unrestricted gun rights, period. Even Scalia didn't want us to have unrestricted gun rights and made that very clear. But the ones that have strong constitutional leanings have to reluctantly rule that even though they don't want it, they kind of got to let it happen. So I'm hoping they will stick to that. I'm hoping Roberts won't use being in the middle and being the float guy as an excuse to go against his constitutional beliefs. So, like I said, the rally, great success. Do I think it will change what the Democrats do in Virginia? No. I do think what the Supreme Court does in the next couple of months might change what they do in Virginia. But I kind of hope it doesn't, because I think sometimes you got to take a punch in the face. You got to take a punch or two before you can get in the knockout blow. You know, and I'm okay with taking a couple of punches to the Second Amendment if it sets us up for that knockout punch. And I think what's going on in Washington, what's going on, coupled with what's going on in Virginia, especially what's going on in Virginia, could end up being that knockout punch for a lot of things that Bloomberg likes to do if it goes to the Supreme Court and they rule favorably. So, and like I said, we'll see how favorable they are to the Second Amendment here shortly with these other cases. So, like I said, once again, try to sum up, that's all I had to say. I think it's a very positive thing. I don't think it's going to have any effect on the politicians. I think the courts are going to have an effect on the politicians. And I hope that these battles make it to the Supreme Court. I hope they stick to their constitutional beliefs. And I hope we deliver that knockout punch to Brady and Bloomberg and all those anti-gunners.